Learning about writing is a great way to improve your writing skills, your storytelling craft, and also your world building. But there are so many books on the writing craft out there, and I have picked up way too many that bored me, that were repetitive, or that just didn't give me what I wanted. But I also have a bunch of books that have changed how I write and that have made me a better writer. In today's video, I'm giving you my 4 all-time favorite books on the writing craft. I have gifted these books to friends and I cannot stop recommending them. They're really the best of the best, and I would recommend every writer to read them. So there's one that is on the emotional and spiritual side of being a writer, one about editing, one about character creation, and one about world building. And these books are not so well known, so I'm pretty sure that you don't know all of them yet. So let's go ahead and change that. Let's get started with the first one. So The War of Art by Steven Pressfield is not just any book on writing. This one is really unique in its way. It's not describing how you can write well or how to have better style, prose, or anything like that. It's really about the emotional weight of being a writer. This author has been through the whole journey. He has suffered from bouts of not being able to write. And probably if you're a writer, chances are that you know how this feels if you're not able to write, if you don't feel inspired, if there is such strong resistance that you have to battle through to get to sitting down and write your book. So this book has 2 parts. The first part is all about resistance and in what shapes or forms it comes. And it doesn't feel really like a guide. It feels more like a little angel that talks to you on your shoulder with the voice of Bukowski and telling you how to get your shit together as a writer. And the second part is all about how to build the mindset of a professional writer. Because the difference between a professional writer and an amateur writer is that a professional writer is able to overcome resistance and is actually able to sit down and go through this epic battle of creation that writing a book is. What this book, The War of Art, did to me was it made me feel so understood when I felt really guilty and beat myself up about not being able to write. Because I think a lot of us, we think a lot about writing and we want to write, but at the same time we don't. We have all these questions in our head. Why don't I just sit down and write this novel? Like, why don't I just get to it? And this is answered in this novel. This will help you understand yourself better and this will also help you feel empathic towards yourself, but at the same time kick yourself in the behind and get going if you want to take your writing seriously. Now, a lot of us writers dread the editing phase, and I was one of them. When I finished my first novel, Lilith's Garden, it had around 400 pages, and I had no clue how to get started. I mean, I think most people think of line editing when they hear the word editing, basically spell checking and finding maybe prettier words to make sentences sound better, improving your style. But that is really just a very small part of the editing. And this book, Intuitive Writing by Tiffany Yates Martin, it helped me understand what editing actually is and to see it in a much more positive light. Because I thought editing is a dreadful process. It's like the annoying work that comes after the wonderful creative process. But intuitive writing made me understand that actually editing is a very valuable and important part, probably the main part of creating the novel. Like when you're writing the first draft, you're really laying it out quite fast probably. And everything that comes afterwards in the end is editing and is really creating that story. It's like shaping it out of this block that you have created, like somebody who's making a statue. And the problem is why editing feels so overwhelming is because I and many other writers, they miss the methodology how to start this, like breaking it down in smaller steps. And that's exactly what this book does. It gives you a step-by-step process of how to edit actually. And this author, she splits it quite marvelously into several parts that make it really much more clear and help you not become overwhelmed in the process. So the first part, she calls it macro edits. It really focuses on the big things like plot, character, and stakes of your story. And then she goes on to macro edits, where you go through smaller elements like structure, voice, you check dialogues, the point of view, make sure that everything is consistent. And only after that you come to the line edits that everybody thinks of when editing. So this is a completely different approach to what many people do. And it really helps you not get lost and overwhelmed by all the things that have to be changed. Because let's be honest, if you're editing a first draft, there will be a lot of stuff to change and improve. And it's so easy to lose sight of what needs to be changed in the end. And she gives you a really great list that you can go through to make sure that you don't forget anything. And this around 300 pages book that I have worked with a lot, as you can see, I have here marked all sections in different colors so that I can find them easily. She really also tells you what you need to look out for. For example, in something like suspense and tension, she would tell you how exactly you make sure that you keep the suspense and keep up the tension throughout your story, which is really helpful in my opinion. I think you can learn a lot of this book. It's a workbook. It's not just something you read. It's really a book that you can have on your desk while you are editing, and you're just going through it step by step with the help of this author. So this is wonderful if you want to learn how to think differently about editing. You want to stop dreading the editing phase. And like me, you want to overcome this whole fear. And actually, I started enjoying editing after I learned how to actually approach it in a sensible way. It has become probably my favorite part of creating a novel. The writing is actually hard because you have to create something out of nothing. But editing, you can work with something that's already there and improve it, embellish it, change it. I really enjoy it. And if you want to change your mind about how editing is really boring and maybe annoying, you should also read this book. And the third book is called Write Iconic Characters by Claire Taylor. This was a gift by one of my writer friends, and I've read this within 2 days because this book is really exciting. Now, it uses the system, the personality system of the Enneagram to help you create more iconic and deep characters. If you don't know what the Enneagram is, this is just a personality typing system with 9 character types that is based in psychology and really goes into depth with character flaws and issues, vulnerabilities, but also strengths. And I think the most important and interesting part about the Enneagram is that it really also lays out a growth path for each character type, and also a path that the character could go on if they actually get worse. And if they have issues, if they are triggered, what could happen to them then? How they would disintegrate into a worse personality version of themselves. Now, the fun thing about this book is that you do not need to know anything about the Enneagram. It gives you detailed information about each personality type, their cardinal flaw and vulnerability, but also the growth trajectory. But since this is specifically written for writers, it also has dialogue examples and literary examples for each character type. Compared to other books about character development, it doesn't just give you a list that you could fill out or a template. Well, what do they like? What are their hobbies? Which seems quite shallow to me and maybe not so helpful. It really goes into the meat of the story that will help you create characters that drive the story with their personal traits and weaknesses and also growth patterns. And if you're like me and you find it a bit hard to imagine how your character could grow or maybe disintegrate, this will really help you, at least with examples, to see how it could go and how you could do it. And I know this may sound like it's a bit stereotypical if you pick a personality type for your character, but there is still so much open. Even if you use one of these archetypes to base your character on, there is still so much open that will make your character really individual. And this is just like a skeleton or framework that will help you understand how your characters could be more vivid and feel more like real people. And now, drum roll, let's get to the writing craft book that is my favorite of all times. This is just the most beautiful book I've ever picked up, and it is called The Wonderbook by Jeff Vandermeer. So this is really a piece of art. I'm going to give you a close look because it is so beautiful. It deserves to be looked at. And strictly spoken, this is not really a book on world building alone. It's a book on all writing craft topics, but it is basically an illustration of world building because the author has created little stories to illustrate each topic of writing. And there is just so much ingenuity in there, so much originality, all of these artworks and little drawings and little games even that he has created to make this book. I am completely amazed. This book is extremely filled with a very big amount of information. So you could probably study this for half a year and do all the exercises in there, learn a lot from it, and it still would keep on giving. I'm completely in love with this book, I have to admit. Now, you're probably wondering which of these books you should read or which one you should read first. And of course, I would say read all of them. But if I had to pick one of them, I would say read The War of Art. Because this one is really deeply moving and life-changing. If you're a writer, and in the end, what is the most important as a writer is really the mindset, that you know what it means to be a writer, the professional mindset of a writer that really differentiates you from somebody who just loves writing and would like to be an author, and somebody who can put in the work, the creative energy to live as an author day to day. And if you've stayed all the way until here, I might as well introduce myself. Hi, I'm Effi. I'm a fantasy writer with a degree in literature studies, and I have a big love for dark fantasy. On this channel, I write, I read, and I share everything I know about the writing craft and all my favorite reads. And if you'd like to follow along, you're very much welcome here. I'd love to see you in the next video. Goodbye.